All right, hello again. My name is Marnie Holder. I'm the Director of Career Summits and Virtual Events for Hiring Our Heroes, and welcome to our virtual career community. Today, before we jump into our feature presenters and panelists, I wanted to just give a few housekeeping notes on how to dialogue with them. Down at the bottom, you will see two options, a Q&A and a chat. We are asking that any participants that have a question, please log into the Q&A portion and pose that question. Those are the questions that we'll do our best to answer all of them during the online presentation. For those that are tempted to use the chat room, it will redirect you to the Q&A portion. But also, if anyone has any questions beyond today's presentation, we will redirect you to military@charter.com, and we'll be posting that throughout the presentation. All right. Our feature today is Spectrum, and they have some phenomenal panelists that are joining us, and we are going to have the opportunity to learn more about how to land a career with Spectrum. And to lead our discussion today, it's a pleasure to introduce Rahman Khan, who is the Vice President of Community Impact for Spectrum. Take it away.
So good morning. It's morning. Yes. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Glad to be a part of this today. This wonderful opportunity that Hiring Our Heroes, and thanks to you all for all the hard work that you all are doing. They're helping transitioning veterans and their families look for new opportunities. I'm familiar with the organizations. I did some work with them, with you all several years ago, and just so happy that we could be of service and have a wonderful panel for us today. So looking forward to having an engaging conversation, and this is truly going to be a conversation. So we have a few really good, strong panelists today. I'm so excited to have them with us. And so I'm going to let them introduce themselves. But first, just a little bit about well, let's hear from the panelists, and I'll talk to you a little bit about Spectrum and just kind of who we are overall. So let's start out with Kevin. Let's start with Kevin.
Great, thanks, Rockland. Pleasure to join this team here today for Hiring Our Heroes, and privileged to be on the panel. So my name's Kevin Ueno. I'm an Army veteran. Spent 7 years on active duty as an infantry officer. And currently my role with Spectrum or Charter is as Director of Project Deployment. And so I work specifically with our Spectrum Mobile line of business. That's our new wireless business, and also supporting our Spectrum Enterprise or commercial organization. Let's see, what else? Been with the company about 3 years, and prior to that had one other role in telecom with another technology company following my time on active duty.
All right, and Kevin, what branch?
Was Army Infantry for 7 years. And in that time was based mostly out of Fort Richardson in Alaska. Did one tour to Iraq and to Afghanistan out of that organization.
Cool. Sounds great. That's great. Thank you. Who's next? Let's go with Deirdre.
Absolutely. So thank you again for allowing me to be a part of the panel as well for Hiring Our Heroes. I am Deirdre Bartlett. I am the Human Resource Director for Field Operations here in Spectrum in the Columbus, Ohio area. I am an Air Force veteran. I spent about 10 years active duty. I have been with Charter Spectrum for about 12 years in this capacity. It's a wonderful organization, and again, just glad to be a part of this panel today.
Great. Thank you, Deirdre. Anything else to add? HR guru or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So no, I put a plug in for just a wonderful organization that we have here, and just opportunities that abound within the Spectrum Charter footprint, and the opportunities as well as the benefits. So, and we'll talk a little bit more about that during our session. Actually, hoping we can get into that with the panel discussion, but really that's all I have to share.
Sounds great. Sounds great. All right, and Mr. Matt Cohen, how about you?
Hi, good afternoon. So I'm Matt Cohen. I'm the Vice President of Customer Operations for a couple facilities in Texas. I'm an Air Force veteran and third generation military. My dad was a Marine in World War II. My grandfather, believe it or not, was a Scottish Royal Highlander in World War I. And then my oldest son is currently in the Navy, serving in Italy. I've had the pleasure to be at Spectrum now for 3 years this month, believe it or not. And I'm one of the co-chairs for the Veterans Business Resource Group. So I'm excited to be engaged in this panel with Hiring Our Heroes, which we've done a lot of work with, both here at Spectrum. Prior to Spectrum, I was at Comcast, and I worked in a similar capacity, and I was also part of the Veterans Resource Group there, and have had a nice few years working with Hiring Heroes and seeing the great work they do. And I'm excited to be part of it today and sharing some of my perspectives with all of you.
All right, thanks, Matt. And bringing up the rear, who always has your 6. Let's hear from Mike.
I'm Mike DeCroy, retired Army. I spent between regular Army and reserves, I have a total of almost 22 years. In Spectrum, I've been here 32 years. I've done everything from installation to service tech to maintenance tech to head end to supervisor, construction soup to now a construction manager. I'm in charge of building out all our new subdivisions, small, medium business, DA circuits, you name it, we build it and we get it to our customers right away.
All right, cool. So thank you all, Mike, Matt, Kevin, and Deirdre, for those wonderful introductions. We're excited again to have you all here as part of this Hiring Our Heroes Spectrum Career Connections opportunity. Just a little bit about Spectrum, and I hope people take the time to go to spectrum.com or to jobs.spectrum.com to find out more information about us as a company. But for those who may not know, we're a connectivity company, a technology company, an internet, cable, phone, mobile phone service company, but we all believe in connectivity. We're in 41 states across the country. We're about a $40 billion operation. About 96,000 employees. And we have vast amounts of opportunities in the different kinds of businesses that we operate. And so, again, we're going to talk with the panel about hearing more about their stories, their transitions, opportunities, and hopefully have a great session. This is part of our work in helping to improve the overall company's employment goals and company's employment goals, but it's also our commitment to the community and having jobs for those who have helped serve us so much. And we believe in service just as our military families and veterans and enlisted folks believe in service as well. So we have a commitment to the community. My department specifically runs our community impact work and how we're working with local communities in different types of areas. You'll find out more again on jobs.spectrum.com. So that's kind of who we are. And so let's get right into it. Y'all ready? Can I get a hoorah or hoorah? Or
go for it.
Okay. All right. So let's start off with the obvious. Guys. We know we're in unique times. This is an unprecedented time of uncertainty, of somewhat confusion going on, and this worldwide pandemic is something that was that really we didn't know about. But what I've found out over the years is that members of the military really are prepared more than most people, because I think you all are developed and you all have certain skills around preparation. Can you talk just a couple of minutes about, and this is either one of you all, about just how the military has prepared you for situations like this?
Yeah,
let's start off with you. Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Hey, Rockman. Sure. So one of the things is, I think fairly universally, the military trains resilience, right? Which can be a learned behavior. It trains resilience into folks it expects to lead, whether at the E4 team leader level or at senior levels as an officer at NCO. And so I think the ability to be resilient, to be able to make decisions under pressure, and to react with empathy is something that veterans are well positioned for. But I also think that relying on your experience in the military gives you some structure to apply when you're in a complex or ambiguous circumstance. And one really good example, and then I'll turn it over to other panelists, but one really good example is if you've read General Stan McChrystal's book, Team of Teams, he talks about the daily O&I, and that's where when he led the JSOC organization, Joint Special Operations Command, he coordinated this multinational, multi-branch joint organization globally around the world and synced people on an aligned vision that empowered them to act autonomously with trust, right? He would underwrite their decisions, but still kept people aligned on what was most important to the organization at the time. And so folks who can leverage experiences like that are going to rise to the fore, right, in a situation like the one we're dealing with today.
Yeah. I think someone had something to add. That Matt or Mike?
Yeah, so Kevin, you said it very well, and I don't have that much to add. You know, I just say that the military brings a level of perspective, which I think is helpful. I think military members from all branches are able to prioritize quickly based on critical thinking skills and an assessment of the situation. And they're able to make decisions, whether it's logistics or strategy, on the fly and be thoughtful about it, and then employ the help of others in a team-based environment, which is what Spectrum's all about. So whether you're making decisions about the crisis that we currently are in at each of our locations, how it impacts our customer base, and then also balancing that, which is how I really think military members excel, with their own personal lives, families, and those they care about, which is a level sometimes of sacrifice, and it's also a level of compassion and understanding of others and what they're dealing with.
Yeah, thanks you all both. So let's talk a little bit about Spectrum too. I mean, you all have some of you have short term, some of you have long terms with Spectrum. You know, what made you? I'd love to hear from each one of you all for this. Just take a minute just to tell us what brought you here and what keeps you here. Let's start with you, Mike.
Okay. When I came out of the military, it was like, what do I, because I was a medic in the military. So the medical hospitals, it was like, okay, well.
First, I think that's important. You were a medic and now you work at a telecom company.
Yes.
Technology company.
So I was a completely different field. And civilian life, it's like, well, you don't have enough training. You're overtrained in certain areas and undertrained in others. So I decided to go to my recruiter and talk to them, and they came up with a career-based opportunity for communication. So I said, okay, I'm a smart guy. I can go out there and try that. Let me see what it has to offer. And here, 32 years later, I have went through the different parts of the organization, different parts of the business as it grew. As you all know, cable didn't start out as internet and phone and cellular. It started out as a simple, actually, when I started, 36 channels. So going along that, the challenges that came up, the military set me and gave me the focus to drive towards those challenges, look for the opportunities to learn and understand how to build myself as well as build my career within Spectrum.
That's great. And you're still hanging around, so that's a good thing.
Almost
keeping
definitely.
you here. So that's great. Deirdre, what about you?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, Charter Spectrum provided me the opportunity to utilize the skills that I had. I've been in HR for about 30 years. And what I like about Spectrum Charter is it allows the development of others. Military was—
Wait a minute, did you say 30 years too?
In HR, yes.
Yeah, see, look, you guys are drinking that juice, that good juice there. That's 32 years.
Yeah, it's in the Spectrum
That's
water.
wonderful.
What it is, yeah.
That's good. Hey,
yeah.
You all heard that out there on the basis, right? Spectrum
That's
water,
right.
that's good for you.
That's why I stick around. It keeps me young here. How about that?
I like that.
Yeah, but it aligned with the core values and the principles that the military has. I have been able to work with a lot of folks and seen a lot of people progress and develop within the organization. What I like to tell people who join the organization is this isn't just a job, it's a career. And I truly believe in the principles of that. And that's what I learned from the military myself. It was a career. I spent about 10 years in the Air Force, and it helped develop me. And I've learned to be able to transition and share that with the people who join the organization here and help them development. And so I find great joy in see people grow. I've seen people start as technicians and as customer service reps who are leaders within the organization. And I take pride in that. And that to me shows just a true value in what we have in the workforce that we have. And those are the values that I bring from the military to help people develop and grow. That's
yeah.
what
That's good. That's good. That's good. That and the good juice. All right, we got it in the water. All right, Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, so great overview from both of y'all. I love the story. You know, I've been out now longer than I'd like to admit, 22 years, I guess. I don't know.
Whoa.
And, you know, I was a cop in the Air Force. So I don't know how, when I got out, I was going to be a police officer. And I was testing all over Tennessee when I got out. And, you know, be a police officer in the 90s, you'd wait like a year to get on a police force. Now the demand is much different. So during that time frame of waiting, I needed to work. And I was able to start out at a satellite company, to be honest. Initially, I worked in telecom and satellite, and I did that for 10 years. And I love telecommunications. I love it's a very personal relationship, what we have here with our subscribers, with the video, the internet, the phone, especially now during this crisis that we're in, we're seeing how personal that relationship is. And why I chose Spectrum is because they believe in the power of veterans. They believe in the power of their employee base to make a difference, and their goals and their vision and their strategy aligns with how I feel. And so I continue to stay here every day. I love to see what we're doing with veterans, whether if you're watching right now and you're getting ready to get out and transition, which I believe a lot of you are, or if you're watching this later on when after it's recorded and you've been out for decades, this is a place where veterans thrive. And I'm glad to be part of that.
Yes, it's wonderful. You were MP?
SP, well, yeah, security police, and they turned them into security forces now. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, we did a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I don't want to hear stories. So maybe
I got some good stories. Not for this.
All right, what do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, thanks, Rockman. So I mean, I came to Spectrum because of opportunity, and I stay at Spectrum because of opportunity. And what I mean by that is, at the time that I came to Spectrum, I was working for another technology company, doing product management, product launch deployment, and the opportunity to come to Charter to help launch Spectrum Mobile, now our wireless service. In conjunction with what I think is the evolution, kind of Mike spoke to it, away from pure play cable, pure play wireless, but just to sort of connectivity companies. If you think about where aspirations of everyone from Amazon and Google to the new 5G networks being rolled out by Verizon, AT&T, new T-Mobile, and the recent merger with Sprint, there was just a lot of opportunity in Charter, and there continues to be. And that was really exciting to me because I think one of the things I really loved that got into my DNA in the Army was a sense of mission, right? And that when you complete a mission, there's going to be another one for you. The reward for a job well done is a harder mission. And that has very much been the opportunity for me at Charter, and I've really loved that. And the note that I would share to attendees today, who I appreciate them joining to have this time with us, is I left the Army essentially to get married, right? It was a high up-tempo time. I was deploying overseas a lot. And my new bride was not exactly down with that. So I transitioned off of active duty in 2011 into what at the time was a really murky and uncertain job market following 2009, recession. Not different necessarily wholly economically from today. Obviously, we have a lot of other factors going on right now, but a lot of uncertainty in my life. And I lucked into what I was doing in project management because coming out of the Army, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do entirely. But project management really spoke to that mission-focused mindset that I enjoyed. And so it seemed like one thing from that infantry DNA that could carry over in a non-infantry world. And I was really fortunate that that turned out to be true for me. And so even though I kind of lucked into my role into telecom, I've been able to have a variety of roles in telecom now with a project management background. I went to field operations initially, moved from there to a field operations PMO, and then into product management, but all of them with that project management focus, that very mission DNA focus. So while the job role itself wasn't a direct translation, the aspects and qualities that I loved from the military got to translate throughout.
Yeah, yeah. And so I want to stay there for a second because you talked about a lot of different roles, or a couple of different roles that you've had. And one of the questions that, constantly comes up is, and I think you all have already kind of laid it out, that there are roles in the military that don't necessarily translate, number one. But number two, which I want to go here, is there are lots of roles that are available here at the company. And so can you just mention, let's each of you mention 2 or 3 different types of roles that you all know of that are here at the company?
I can start off with that. So as a beginning, you can go into being an installer, service tech, that gives you the opportunity to learn a career path outside of the military, which the military drills into us at a very young age most of the time when you join, that those values and guidance that any mission that we set ourselves towards, we can complete and succeed at it. And all we have to do is be given the opportunity to go towards it and learn it. And that's what Spectrum gives you every day, is different opportunities to see what you would like to do throughout your different careers. That we have installers, we have maintenance techs, we have service techs, we have hub techs, we have construction coordinators, construction supervisors, TQA, which is basically Q&A on whatever is going on in the customer's home.
Yeah, lots of different types of good roles. And Deirdre, you work as an HR leader. You work with a lot of these same types of roles, these field operations or installers, technicians. Are those where you see a lot of the growth, a lot of the opportunities still continue to happen?
Absolutely, especially for our transitioning veterans. I think that this is a great opportunity because, as I stated earlier, this is a career, right? And this is a good transition from where you are now. And like the military, we actually train you. Do we want transferable skills? Absolutely, but we'll train you in those, and we provide a foundation in which you can continue to build your career. And field operations can lead to some of the other opportunities that Mike spoke about earlier. In our construction field, where we have the new builds, in our maintenance, we maintain the plant, right? In our construction area, we just have a vast majority of opportunities within the organization. And I've seen people just grow and develop. Bringing those leadership skills that the military also provides is very important, because as you grow your career with the company, with Charter Spectrum, you actually see how those skills that you gained in the military, and the some that Mike and both Mike and Ken talked about earlier, is where we see our greatest growth. We have opportunities through our apprenticeship program that is offered now, for we have those transitioning veterans. So I do see a lot of people.
Now tell me real quickly, what's the apprenticeship program?
Yeah, so this is wonderful. So the apprenticeship program offers our veterans who come in, and actually all of our employees who start in the field technicians role, an opportunity to get a certificate as they transition in, as they complete their career opportunities within the organization. It lets you earn a certificate in our field operations from a field technician 1 all the way to a field technician 5. While you're taking the courses and learning your job, you'll also be earning a certificate through the program. You can use your GI Bill if you want to, but you don't necessarily have to. So although it's offered to our veterans, it's offered to all of our incoming field technician candidates.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And I know we started in North Carolina.
Yeah. Yes.
And I know we started in North Carolina and then we went to Texas. Is it nationwide now?
It is indeed. It is indeed.
Okay, that's good to hear. Good to hear. All right, cool. So Kevin, I know we do a lot around technology. What about you in terms of roles?
So there's a lot of roles that are, you can be really in the forefront if you want. There's a lot of sales roles, retail and stores roles. I think you heard a little bit about the apprenticeship from customer-facing roles is kind of what I mean, where you're the face of the company when I say out in front. But there's also a lot of behind-the-scenes roles where, training is available and you can norm in really readily, right? We have a lot of real estate, right, that needs to get managed, right? We have a lot of procurement and supply chain needs. We have network operations needs that support the network that those field operations techs are going to, take and have touch customers' homes or businesses. My team for Spectrum Mobile and for Enterprise really works with all of those groups, and we get a really nice view into opportunities that are the typical roles that you think of when you think of a cable provider coming to your home, or that you see when you walk into a wireless store. But all those people have a support team, and if you think about the military, a lot of us didn't fly, aircraft. We didn't, we weren't on helos, we weren't on submarines, we weren't on tanks, but we were part of the team that supported those things. And Charter is very much the same way. There's the frontline faces in the call centers, frontline faces in field operations. There's a lot of support roles that are enablers that make those people successful, right? 30% increase in demand on the internet with all of us working remotely or from home right now. And largely across the industry, we've just absorbed that, out of hand. While the frontline folks get the lion's share of the credit for that, there's a lot of support roles at companies like Charter that make that absorption of all that additional demand of bandwidth, the ability to do this panel happen like that. And so there's all of those types of roles is what I'm saying, Rockman.
Yeah. People getting the train, keep the trains running, like keeping the network running well, and those people who are supporting the technology behind what people see in front and what people sell. So yeah, thanks for that, Matt. You're also in this space with a lot of technology folks. What do you see as well?
Right. Yeah. Great. Customer operations, which is the business unit that I support. You can look at our company as a bunch of micro businesses all working in conjunction with one another. So if I just spend a little time in this customer ops space, you have obviously what folks spoke about already: frontline representatives supporting customers at a basic level to very advanced levels of internet support, phone support, mobile support, all the different lines of business. But within that, we have human resources, we have training and facilitation, which is a huge, big part of the organization today as we bring on new hires across the country. We have IT, we have facilities management. This building I'm in is 64,000 square feet. Another one in El Paso is another 80,000 square feet. You need people that can work with facilities folks, with contractors. Within every business unit, you can find multiple levels where you might fit in perfectly. And regardless, if there's not an exact correlation, there's always one thing that I think veterans bring, and that's discipline. And that's what every level in our organization is looking for, a greater level of discipline.
That's great. That's great. And I'm not a veteran, but what I did hear is that veterans also have a skill called GSD, get stuff done. Right? Get stuff done. So I think that's true. Matt, I want to stay with you for a second. One of the things we talked about is the different types of roles, and I think there's lots of different types of roles that are available. But once people come in, sometimes it may be a tough challenge coming in, and there needs to be support and opportunities for people to kind of connect with each other. We're so fortunate to have you on, not only for your skills as a practitioner, but you're also one of the co-chairs of our Veterans Business Resource Group. So can you tell us just a little bit about that? I think there was a question about that too, just about what our Veterans Resource Group, Business Resource Group is.
Right. Great question, Rockman. So our organization has several business resource groups, or basically organizations within our company that support certain segments of our population. And for us specifically, what makes sense for this is the veterans community. So our veterans community, which is right now, I think all in, we have several hundred members that are involved in networking events, training, mentoring. We try to get together at least once every few months to just bring everyone together, see how well they're supported, what needs they may have. This is a group of veteran employees or military spouses or those that just have an affinity to the military community that want to be involved and want to support. And we approach it from multiple facets. So I mentioned the mentoring and training. We're going to lean into that for the second part of the year. Onboarding. We're creating potentially podcasts and onboarding packets to help it be easier for a veteran to come into our organization and kind of fit right in quickly within a shorter period of time. Networking events so that veterans can meet other veterans and feel supported in the community, working with your group, Rockman, that you lead so well.
Yep.
How do we help our communities in which we work and live in with some specific focus on the veterans? It's really about leveraging our veterans in a positive manner, their skills, talents, and ideas, while also supporting them and their unique gifts and perspectives.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, it's great active group, and it's only about a year old, right? So
yeah,
it's
a
been doing
year
a lot
coming
in just
up.
a short time. Yeah,
they've done a lot. Marty Moore, who's my co-chair, many of you may know, she started it and she's done a great job, and I've been lucky enough to join over the last few months and help as I can.
Yeah, Marty's a jewel and very, very passionate and wanting to get the work done. And the other thing is talk about your leadership too. I think that's important to point out. Who is your executive sponsor?
Oh, great. Yeah. So Tom Adams is our executive sponsor. So we're getting support at the most highest levels in the organization. And he gives us direct guidance and feedback regularly. So it's not just, it is a lot of the ideas and the as we work through programs come from our membership. And then Tom really helps to encapsulize how he believes Spectrum can support those and give direction on those things. So it's not just like, well, hopefully we'll figure it out. No, we have the highest level, one of the highest levels in the organization supporting us, and he's passionate about it. And so I'm just so excited that I can work with him on it.
Yeah. And Tom Adams leads our field operations group. And so the executive vice president of field operations. So you heard Mike talking about all those roles in the organization that Deirdre supports. I mean, it's probably almost a third of the company, right?
That's right.
And so to have him, to have him supporting, and many people from his group are veterans. And so to have him be supportive of that is a real jewel there. Yeah.
And I think with Tom, he's so insightful that he sees from his employees' perspective with the number of veterans that he has in his organization, as well as a strategic, executive that sees 3, 4, 5 steps ahead. So he helps us in tremendous ways. And I'm pleased that Spectrum, leans in to the degree that they do. That's great. So Mike, you talked a lot about the jobs earlier and the different jobs you had. I think you said you had 37 jobs already at Spectrum, but I'm exaggerating just a little bit. But you had several jobs, and part of that is because not because again you were a medic before, but I think it's partially because of the skill sets that you bring and the different skills that the military prepared you for, and what you've seen and witnessed across the company over the years. So can you talk about just those skills or those transferable skills that are so necessary when you're transitioning, and also as you're progressing through the organization?
Yes, I can. Thank you. With the military, it gives you the crawl, walk, run phase. We've always been taught to touch, get to understand how to do something, work your way through it, understand all the obstacles that are in the way, work your way up, walk a little bit, and then hit the challenge head on and run. In that, I took that from the military and have always hit any obstacle head on, looking at what the different opportunities might be to learning what that obstacle is, understanding how to get it, understand what I need to know to be able to put myself and qualify for that position. Like I said, when I started, it was climbing poles and hanging wires to houses. back in 87, or 88, to where I am now, which is building infrastructure for subdivisions to townhomes, to apartment complexes, and DA circuits, cell towers. And it's just understanding the different environments, understanding fiber, understanding coax, and teaching yourself along the way. And the military gives you that skill set to teach yourself and to understand go ahead.
Yeah, and was it hard, or has it been hard to transition from job to job once you got in?
No, because you have that understanding that nothing comes easy, and you're willing to, in the military, take the challenge head on and get to understand what it's going to take to move you forward in your career path, being ex-military, and knowing that if it's worth it, the challenge is going to be worth it. So,
yeah,
and you push your way through.
Yeah, and you're able to see the forest from the trees, I guess. I mean, you can step back and say, where's the company going? So, for example, 10 years ago, we may have not have known that mobile was going to be as big as it is, specifically for our business, and or even 15, 20 years ago, like someone said earlier, cable was it, and just trying to find a few channels, and now it's basically an essential service from an internet base. So I think just realizing that, I think Yule's preparation is helping y'all see, let's step back, let's take a holistic view, let's take a holistic look at what's coming, and let's make sure we're prepared for that. It seems to be about right?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
Rockman, if I could just offer a thought there, a lot of us in the military, especially folks who are in longer than myself, I was essentially 2 tours at 7 years, but the folks who maybe made a career out of it, many people reclassed at some point, right? When they were in the military, they changed MOS, or they changed career field. They went green to gold and decided that, hey, I've led well as an NCO. I'd like to see myself do it as a warrant or as an officer. And there were structures in place that made that possible for them, whether it was initial career counseling or informal mentorship, right? But a lot of that changing in career path was feasible because structure existed for retraining and then for training and scaling opportunities. I think one of the hallmarks of Charter is that we have similar opportunities, maybe not always as structured to the degree that the military has, but that mentorship piece, a lot of what Matt talked about for the business resource group, I think we make up, Brian and the Spectrum military team, keep me honest on this, but somewhere around 10%, veterans, like 10% of the Charter workforce. That is not insignificant, right? Without us, Charter is decimated by definition. So the investment there, right, to get it right for veterans who get in and realize that you want to do the civilian version of the reclass, I think is robust and growing. So I think that's a big, just a big feather in the cap that we don't always point to directly, but it is analogous to what a lot of us did in our military careers. Yeah,
and I think the question around the skill sets, and someone mentioned this in the chats or in the Q&A, it may be difficult for some people to see themselves in certain roles because they may not have the necessary specific job requirement. And I know we have a strong military recruiting team. Molly and Brian work hard on this in terms of identifying those skill sets. And this is for Kevin. You can continue on this. When you were applying for your job, did you look at skill sets, or did you look at the title or role, location? What was kind of the thing that drew you to it and kind of helped you figure out what you wanted to do?
So when I didn't know what I didn't know, which was a lot like when I was a young lieutenant, and people, senior NCOs in particular, would go out of their way to guide me about what I didn't know, right? And they helped me learn. And so initially getting into telecom, there's a lot of opportunity I didn't know about, and so I had to lean on the things that were most alike to what I did know. But as I learned about those opportunities, I was able to get steered, Rockman, toward the things that would help me be more prepared for them. And so, for example, with mobile and wireless, when I entered telecom, the thought of a convergence between cable and the wireless space would have never occurred to me. And that wasn't that long ago, right? That was, again, 2011. But as I spent more time in telecom learning at the time, the satellite side, mentors and just the work around me started to open my eyes to this is where the organization's going. And it gave me opportunities to then go self-learn and go ask more questions and position myself for intermediary roles. So my role today, director of project deployment, very focused on the wireless space and mobile and enterprise. I would not have got this role, I don't believe, coming right out of the military as a captain or as an 03. I do think, though, that a lot of the learning agility that I had to display getting to my initial role served me well to sort of set me up to get here, right, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't have even known to think of myself in this role, to envision myself in this role maybe 10 years ago. But once I got into my initial role, because I kept my eyes open and kind of head on a swivel, folks wanted to help me. Other veterans, other non-veterans wanted to help me, and they were able to kind of give me guidance to propel me so that by the time I got the opportunity, again, to come to Charter and I really saw this big opportunity, I recognized it for what it was, and I went after the target. You know what I mean?
Yep. So let's talk about, and I know we don't have a whole lot of time. I would like to talk about just what Spectrum provides, because I hope people understand that this is really a good company. This is a company that is withstanding the pressure. I mean, the pressure from COVID and the crisis, and because our business model has been strong, we have continued growth. Our portfolio is still strong. Again, we continue to make strides in where we're standing. The pressures that this response has given us. So, Deirdre, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about just what some of the other benefits for working for a company like Spectrum are.
Absolutely. So I'd like to echo not just the tangible items that I'll kind of refer to in a minute, but some of the things you guys have heard already about the intangible things, the support system that you have, the training that's there available to you. We talked about resource groups such as the Veterans Group, and I think that that's a wonderful organization. We have other opportunities for people to get involved as well. I'm part of Women in Cable and Telecommunications. So just some of the intangible things that we offer to people who are transitioning into the organization. But overall, the company itself provides a good benefits for employees just to have a livelihood. So most recently, we just announced that we're going to increase the new minimum to $20 per hour over the next 2 years. And so that's one benefit that we have for transitioning veterans who come in. But we also have a strong retirement plan that we offer to our employees in the way of 401k, as well as what we call a retirement accumulation plan that's offered to our employees as they begin their career here. And I always tell people, specifically when I'm doing the new hire orientation or onboarding, that it's never too soon to plan for your future. And Charter really sets all of our employees up when they come into the organization. I talked a little bit about the apprenticeship program, which is a benefit not just to our veterans, specifically because we're talking about the Veterans Group, but it's offered to all of our employees that come into the field operations organization. For those individuals, and I think Kevin talk about going from green to gold, this is a wonderful ground for development. And we have a program called the Future Leader Program that helps develop our leadership further, to develop them into those C-level roles. And so we have a Future Leaders Program that's offered to our employees. Continual training and development. Development and training is key. I heard everyone say self-learning, right? And you're learning that continually. We also have development programs that we have for all of our individuals who are coming in, whether it be in customer operations, whether it be field operations or sales. We have that ground and that foundation that's there that we offer to employees, but that continued development for our leaders. We had field operations supervisor leadership program development. We also have manager development programs. So wherever you want to go, this organization, again, it's not just a job, it's a career. And that's the kind of way that I look at it. And I share that with every new hire that comes in. And so I hope that, I've done justice to some of that, but again, I may sound like, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, but this is truly a wonderful, it's a wonderful organization for anyone who's transitioning to come in. I just can't say enough.
I think I've heard that. I think I've heard that before. It's not just a job, it's a
It
career.
is indeed. It is indeed.
And an adventure.
And you know what, with
Mike-
people who are transitioning from the military, and I went through a transition program. This is a wonderful transition because it actually mirrors some of the foundational things that we learn when we're in the military.
That's great. Mike, and then we'll get a few questions from the audience.
No, I said I got to agree with her because I drank the Kool-Aid 32 years ago. So
Still here.
That's some good Kool-Aid, man. It lasts that
yes,
long.
it is.
It's what keeps us
Extra
young,
sugar in
Rahman.
Most definitely.
Yeah, it's been I think it'll be 10 for me in a couple of weeks. So wow, yeah, the Kool-Aid's pretty good. Yeah. So Marnie, I would love to see if we can take a couple of questions. I don't know if we're able to do that, but I would love to see if we can take a couple of live questions. Can we do that?
Absolutely. I can tee them up or you can go in there and tee them up, whatever you'd like.
You go ahead.
Okay, I will. I know you guys participate in the corporate fellowship program, and we do have some interested corporate fellows. Did you want to, I don't know if any of the panelists are familiar with that, but just wanted to talk through what that process is and if you have any openings for fellows at your locations.
So fellowship program. So that might be one, maybe a Brian or Molly question might be able to help us with that one.
I can jump on that. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can.
Gotcha.
Awesome. So we are proud to sponsor with Hiring Our Heroes for the Corporate Fellowship Program. In fact, last week we extended an offer to one of our network engineers in Texas. So we're really excited about that. We are going to be participating again in cohort 3. We'll pick up from there once everything, the dust starts to settle. We'll start connecting with those individuals as resumes are released.
Great. Okay.
Rahman, we had one great question. I didn't know if Mike wanted to answer this. So, does Spectrum allow for career progression in a certain time frame? So maybe talking about the field technician progression plan, and then what that looks like, and how it's like a non-compete where you have to just do your online learning and whatnot.
So yeah, I can speak to that. So Field Tech will go through his online learning, and it is a self-progression portal so that they can go in NCTI SCTE training, and they go on their own path. They complete the course, they go to the next level, and so forth and so on. So it is strictly up to the individual and the motivational that they have to complete those courses and to move up through the different levels of technician 1 through 5.
Yeah, and I've seen people do that within like 18 months, 2 years, right? And it's self-progression. So in addition to just the courses and completing those, just having that exposure and being out in the field and self-learning along with that just is invaluable. And when you get through that progression, it opens up so many different opportunities in different arms of the business, right? We can go into the maintenance, we can go in construction. So as they complete those, they're learning so much, as well as the online self-paced. So in addition to the financial gain that they get, because it's a nice bump when they're moving forward in those, there's also some opportunity for other opportunities within the organization.
So you have field techs that go through all their training through level 5. Then you have your maintenance that go through their training through the different levels. And then you can go into hubs, you can go into the rock, you can go into the hubs, you can do so many different things, and it's all a progression really as you go up through the different levels of the company and the different career paths along. And you got to call it like a tree. As you go, you jump on different branches and you find the one that you like the best.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's really appropriate. I think, Kevin's probably the same thing from a mobile standpoint. That's a fairly new product, and but it's people have jumped from other parts of the tree to get into it, and there are some people are new on the tree that have joined it.
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of the nice parts about working for a telecom or technology company, Rahman, is that as we graft new branches onto that tree like mobile, if you're already part of the organization, you're as competitive as anyone, right? I didn't have a mobile background coming to this role, but I had a telecom background, and I was eager and I wanted to learn, and so the company's given me the opportunity, and that's been great. And so I would agree that while there's the level that you can come in at and the specificity of the role might vary, the opportunity to transition straight into a new line of business is very high at Charter, and I think that's exciting because mobile has a variety of roles, right? And it's really exciting.
Yeah, and Kevin, I don't want to stay with you for a second. So, what was your biggest challenge, though? I mean, like you're probably the newest person. Some of these other folks have been around and seen all types of changes. What was your biggest challenge just coming into a company like that? Is it more of understanding what the opportunities are? Was it more understanding just the overall constructs of a major corporation like ours? What was kind of the biggest thing that you had to deal with?
I had a hard time holding up a mirror and seeing what kind of candidate I really was, Rockman. And what I mean by that is I wasn't a retiree who was coming out with set benefits and a little bit of a safety net and therefore could be picky and choosy. A little bit of my time, I was a newlywed with a baby on the way. And I didn't want to heed the advice from folks that said, get a mentor for the role you want, Kevin, not the folks that look like you. And so as a young infantry officer guy, I tended to go to other junior officers who had recently transitioned, other infantry guys for advice. And that hamstrung me for a couple of years because while those guys understood where I was at today, they didn't understand necessarily, unless they were in the role, where I wanted to go. And I needed to get mentors who were already at where I wanted to go, who wanted to invest in helping me get there. So I'd say that was my biggest challenge. And I think the only reason I got through it was because of programs like this, like Hiring Our Heroes, opportunities where other veterans and non-veterans put out a hand, dropped a ladder for me. But also, one thing that the military gave me or reinforced for me was a high degree of learning agility. And if you can lean into that, right, you didn't know how to be a soldier, an airman, a Marine, a sailor when you started, but we taught you, and then you scaled through that. If you can lean into learning agility in the corporate world, you will do well. And you'll figure that part out. So I think that was the saving grace. Yeah,
it's great. And this is for Matt or Deirdre. You know, the internal program development. Someone had asked about, do we offer internal programs? We talked a little bit about, I think, SCTE, which I think you've become a member of. But are there other types of internal programs that you all would suggest that people become a part of?
So, yeah, I can start, and you probably have a greater even vantage point, but the Future Leaders Program is substantial. You know, in customer operations, we have several leadership programs, starting with our frontline supervisors. They go through a course that progresses over 7 weeks, where they learn everything from enhancing their communication skills, dealing with difficult escalations. It really takes a lot of the talent that likely many of our military members have learned and hone them in specific to how to work in the telecom space and in this unique team environment. But I know there's many others, Deirdre, that you can probably share as well.
Yeah.
I had to take myself off mute, apologize. So no, you hit the nail on the head. So in the field operations space, what we do, in addition to the development of our transitioning individuals into the entry-level roles or the technician roles, as they're climbing up and they become a supervisor, we have what we call field operation leadership development courses that we offer our frontline supervisors as they progress through. And that program is probably about 6 months. And then following that, as they progress to a manager, we have most recently what we call a management leadership development program that we offer. And that just goes into teaching our managers how to lead people leaders, right? So we're invested in our employees from the day that they come in the door, right? And as their development and just kind of progressing through the ranks, we have a lot of people who are in leadership roles or even senior leadership roles who started right as the technicians did, right? The foundational piece. And so we have multiple ways for you to do it. And we have mentorship programs through some of our business resource groups, but you know, the company just really believes in mentorship programs, and we have a lot of informal mentors. I believe that our leaders here really take those new hires who come in the door. At least, you know, what we've seen is we catch them in onboarding, right? We introduce ourselves, our leaders when they come in the door, when they're, you know, they're graduating, when they're going through those trainings, when they're doing the leadership development courses. Our senior leaders are involved in those courses with them as well, providing them a helping hand. making sure that we're there when they're presenting out. So we just believe in development from the very beginning and continue throughout the career.
Yeah, that's
Hey,
awesome.
Roxanne, can I add one thing to that? I know we're short on time.
Sure,
I'll be
sure. No, go ahead, Kevin.
It's one thing that I wish someone would have emphasized more firmly to me during my transition out of active duty was, and one guy tried to help me, but I just didn't listen. It's, Kev, you can make what you want. You can either be in the job occupational role that you want, or you can live with you want. Pick two. And what he was really trying to tell me was, you have a lot of soft skills, Kevin, and a lot of experience that's going to help you broaden. But unless you're going to go right into the same occupation you did in the military as a civilian, you're going to have to go through a period there where you're a little bit selective until, as a T-shaped individual, you got all that breadth, you develop some new depth. So you're really good at the tactical stuff for infantry, but you're not going to do that as a civilian, really. So you have to develop that new T-shaped individual depth elsewhere. And in the interim, find out what's the most important to you. Do I start off in a role that maybe I'm not going to be in forever, but I like it and I'm learning and I'm making what I want? Or do I make what I want and live near my family? Find something you can do and live with while you get to that T-shape. And then if you're in a great organization like Charter, they'll help you move to what you really want to do to fill all three roles, or to fill all three components.
Right. Okay. All right. So we're getting close to the end here. I'm going to push you all to answer one last question for me, and I'm going to ask you to do it in just a short phrase. All right. And this question is, what would you tell yourself if you were outside of Spectrum now and you were just coming in to a potential opportunity? What would you tell yourself? You weren't working at Spectrum now. You know what you know now, and you're thinking about joining a company like Spectrum, but you're unsure.
I'll take
Let's
it.
start with you, Mike. Yep.
Looking from outside in, I would say I can handle any challenge. Let me go for it.
Great. Love it. Deirdre.
Yeah, for me, if I was looking on the outside, I would say this is a great opportunity for you to join in. Just come in and hit the ground running, right? The opportunities are boundless.
Awesome, Matt.
Yeah, to always be willing to help, even if you don't have all the experience. You can help others. And here's the tough part for some military members: always be willing to ask for help, because others are here to help you.
Nice.
You're not
and
on your own.
Kevin. Yeah.
I'd piggyback right on Matt said. Be willing to ask for help. There's a mindset in the infantry of there's no one coming. It's up to us. Okay, fine, but be willing to broaden who us is. If you define it as a narrow circle, you're only going to get a little bit of help. If you let us be the people who want to help, and there's a lot of us out here, man, that QRF got real big, didn't it?
Yeah. Okay. So I want to thank Mike and Deirdre and Matt and Kevin for spending their time with us this afternoon and giving us this valuable information. I think it was really important to hear this, and I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again because I think you all gave so many different nuggets out there. So thank you all for giving your time. And I know there's a couple of other announcements around. I think there's a website we want to give and an email we want to give. So Brian, you want to do that, and then Marnie, we can take it from here.
Absolutely. Please feel free to connect with us at military@charter.com or our career site at jobs.spectrum.com. And Marnie?
Awesome. And I just want to echo really what you said, Rahman, at the end. Thanks to all the panelists. You guys offered some phenomenal advice. Many thanks to Spectrum for a session. Appreciate all the Q&As from the field and all the answers provided. And you hit a great point. This is a recorded session, so we can go back, and anyone listening, or if you want to share this with any of your other colleagues or peers that are out there, please go to hiringourheroes.org/career-community. You go to that website, you'll see all of these recorded sessions that we've had the last few weeks and those that are upcoming. So please use that website to review the material you heard today. If you do want to register.
Can you say it one more time, Marnie?
I can.
Can you say it one more time? Sure.
hiringourheroes.org /career-community.
Got it.
Yep. And for Spectrum, if you have other questions for the Spectrum team, please go to military@spectrum.com. They will answer those questions. And for those of you that are looking to join us for future events this week, we have a full schedule, and it's at hiringourheroes.org/events if you want to register for any of our upcoming sessions. We have a LinkedIn premium overview later on this afternoon, so hope to see you there. And thanks to everyone. We appreciate it, and many thanks to the Spectrum team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great
Thanks,
day.
Marty.
Thank you.
You
All
too.
right. All right.
Thanks, Mark.